Hello, this is Simon here with Interface. Welcome to this short webinar about our new reference design, the catalog examples. You will see that we have two new sample experiences in our marketplace to illustrate this reference design, this catalog reference design, one about retail and print services, and one about any kind of exhibit, really, where we're using Shakespeare plays as an example. So as usual with our reference design, the purpose is for you to be able to reuse these samples as easily as possible and make them your own examples, your own experiences very easily without having to change barely anything in the experience structure. So first of all, let's have a look at the Help Center article that will give you some details about how these experiences are built, how they work, and then we'll see how to go from one sample to the other, which is basically what you would do if you wanted to maybe not present print services items in your booth, in your exhibit, wherever you want to present items in an organized structure. So these two examples are the one you will find in the marketplace. We will start with the retail example and see how to transform it into some kind of exhibit using Shakespeare plays, again, as sample content. In the article, you will find the link to the two samples in the marketplace, which you can also download in Composer. We're going to do that in just a minute. You will find this video as soon as it's finished, recorded and edited, and then some quick information about the experience structure itself. Again, I'm going quickly here on the article. We're going to see that in details in Composer, but the experience was kept as simple as possible. Two scenes, the attract scene with some kind of looping content, and the main scene with different layers, with home, with some categories if you want to browse categories, or a search engine if you want to search directly for a specific item, your list of items, and then the details of an item. These are layers and not multiple scenes. We will see why again in Composer, but in a nutshell, to have fancy animations. And this is what it looks like in both experiences. So on the left, we have the print. On the right, we have the exhibit, retail and exhibit, print services, and Shakespeare plays. The attract, something entitling you to touch the screen to start. The choice between categories or the search engine, that's the home. The list of categories and subcategories, the list of items, and then the details itself about the product. So you might, if you're familiar with Interface, you might wonder, wait a minute, there's already a browse and select reference design, so what's the difference? There are a few, but in a nutshell, the main difference is there is no shopping list, shopping cart, shopping basket of any sort. This is just browsing a list of items, so we wanted to keep this a little bit simpler. On the other hand, each item, product, can have more than just one image. It can have its own media gallery and not just images. We will see that with the retail example. You can have brochures, PDFs, we can have videos, and you can have as many as you want. That's kind of a new thing for this reference design. The third thing, which is more technical than in terms of feature, we use our headless CMS as the backend. Our previous reference design back in the days was using an Excel file. All right, moving on into the article, you will have some explanations about the headless CMS structure itself with the list of categories, subcategories, the items, and all the media files I just talked about. And finally, some idea about the analytics dashboard you can create, because yes, we included analytics directly in these experiences. So let's move into Composer. Look into the Marketplace tab. We have the Catalog Retail example here and the Exhibit example. I'm going to go with the Retail one and just download this. And we will use this as a basis to create our own experience, which will happen to be the Exhibit one. So once the experience is downloaded, of course, you can hit play, you can see how it's built, you can look at the two scenes that we saw in the structure and see at the layers, but the real thing we want to do is to start changing it. To do that, because this is a read-only version coming from the marketplace, you need to do a file, save as. Let's name this our new catalog webinar version for today. And this is the most important question you're going to be asked here. Do you want to use the current base, which is the one from the marketplace, which you probably don't have the right to edit its content, or do you want to duplicate that base? And that's what you want to do. You want to create a copy of the base, LSCMS base, in your own account. So let's do this. So we did a copy. Here we have a new duplicate version. I'm going to rename this actually into webinar. So this is renamed here in Composer. I'm also going to do a right click, open in Headless CMS editor. And then in the web, we're going to have a look at the new base in our own account. I will also rename this here. We said webinar, so it is consistent. I'm logged in as webinar at newtyface.com at the moment. That's my new base. And now I can see the structure, I can see the content, and I can start changing that content. So right now in Composer, we have the retail version with the retail products. Again, this is about print services like trade show, banners, things like that. We want to transform this into our list of Shakespeare plays. So you could change the design first or the content first, up to you. I'm going to go with the content first and show you again how we can do this pretty efficiently thanks to the headless CMS and the import export feature. Let's start with the categories. That's the top level categories here. And when you click on import export, you can download a CSV template. So let me do that here and open this Excel file. So this is what the template looks like. You have the item ID, which will be 1. You have your language variant, because we did include some multi-language here. The name of the category, does it has a subcategory, true or false? An ID that will be used for the products, for the items, and an optional thumbnail if you want to use images to display your list of categories. So you will have to fill in the CSV with your own data. For the webinar, I have prepped here some CSVs. So let me show you what the version that I'm going to upload looks like. I'm going to go into CSV, and we're talking about categories. So let's look at this one. So this is the CSV for the Shakespeare version that I'm going to upload. We have 4 categories, 8 rows, because we need the French name, the English name, and the French name. We have the thumbnail, which is the same for both languages. We have, do they have subcategories? Yes to all of them, and that's their ID. Same thing for all the other collections that we have in the CMS, where we are basically going to use these CSVs and upload that into the base. So let me do the first one here. We have categories. Do a drag and drop in here. So the CMS is double checking that the CSV has the proper structure, looking at the variants, looking at the property names. Okay, do I need to import any kind of media? For the categories, we should have 4 images listed. There they are. So I'm going to go again in what I have prepped before. I have my images for my new categories. These are the 4 book style images I want to use. Just drag and drop all of them here. You can see the upload progress. When everything is done, start the base update. Let's do this. We are good for the categories. So I'm going to do the 3 other ones and fast forward a little bit here in the webinar recording. Subcategories was easy, no media files. Let's go to the products. So products, we have a bunch of images, and for some of the plays from Shakespeare, we actually don't have a picture. So sometimes we may use the same default.png. The HCMS cannot know if this default is all the time the same or not. So it's unfortunate, but you do have to upload them as many times as needed. In case maybe, you could have a default PNG in multiple folders, and this could actually be different images. There's no way we can know that in advance. So I have to drag and drop my default just a couple more times. If you want to avoid that, just create images with different names. Now you may have seen in the products, we have only one main image, the thumbnail or the main image of the item/products. This is why we have an additional collection, product media files. This is a list, let me switch that to vertical view, where each item can have a number of images, videos, or documents associated to them. That will create the gallery for each of the items we have in our catalog. In the retail example, for example, this T1 product had 3 images, 1 video, and 1 document. So we use this column media type to tell to the CMS and to Composer what kind of media is this particular entry. This is an image, I'm uploading an image. Same thing for the video, same thing for the document. If you have videos or PDFs, we decided to add a thumbnail column here to make sure that the experience is optimized. So we will ask you to create a thumbnail image for every single media files that you have. So again, if you are running this experience on a 4K screen with a 4K really detailed high resolution image here, you probably don't want to use this super high res 4K image as a thumbnail in your asset flow in the collection to display the list of items. So thumbnail for everybody, that's what we ask here. If these are medium res, you can use the same image in both columns. Let's go and import our media. When you look here into the filters, you can see the numbers going very quickly, which ones have been updated, which ones have not. You can filter here and see, okay, I'm missing these images. So let me go to my second folder here, drag these 114 images at once, and looking at this 236 number going down pretty quickly. Again, we probably have some duplicates here. Some plays might be in 2 categories. We use the same images. Have clean data if you don't want to see this. It really depends on the kind of items and the media files you're going to use on your end. All right, this final default PNG that we need to upload a couple more times. We do have a category for the lost work of Shakespeare. So again, not a lot of realistic data to use here. All right, when everything is uploaded, we have 0 remaining. The button becomes blue. Just a side note, if you are missing some media because marketing didn't give them to you, because you don't have them yet, and you still want to go forward in your process, just uncheck the files that you are missing. That will let you do this start base update without having to have uploaded all the images or videos or documents. So we are good with our 4 collections, the categories, subcategories, the items/products, the media files for every single item. The last component that we have, it's not a collection, it's really a component. So we don't have the import-export here, but it's easy to change this text. And we did that to make it easier to handle multi-language. So if you have titles, captions, instructions, whatever UI elements that talk to the end user, and you want them to be using multi-language, it's way easier to use an HTML space like this. So I can just reuse the content for this new Shakespeare-oriented experience where I'm not searching for a product, I'm searching for a play, for example. So in English, this is what I want to use here, and I'm going lowercase because of the font I will use afterwards, anticipating a little bit in advance. So I'm just going to fill all these text with the new data I got from my colleagues in marketing. All right, looks good for the English. Now I can do the same thing with the French. All right, I'm done with all that. The only thing I need to do is to publish all my changes with 320 media files, text values. Because I did all that at once in the webinar, I may get some kind of timeout error, but all the data is going to be there anyways. In your case, I would suggest to do this step by step, maybe test in between, change the categories first, run in Composer to see the data. You don't have to do all at once, right? You can definitely split that and not do it in just 8 minutes or 10 minutes like I just did here. Okay, so we have published all our content in the base, this new catalog-webinar base. Now we can go back into Composer and do a right click on the base, sync local copy. This will download all these 300 something images I have for the Shakespeare, all the new categories, subcategories, etc. Again, let's give it just a minute. Okay, when you don't see the 3 dots anymore, it means you're good. I was just checking the project. I'm still testing on all of the platforms because this sample was made to run on all the platforms we support, especially with our new player next gen, player 7.5 now. So I can just hit play and see what's the status. What did we change, where we are at, what remains to be done to create this new Shakespeare exhibit style experience. All right, so the attract screen, nothing is coming from the headless CMS besides the text, so we need to change the background, probably the logo. That should be easy enough. For now, this looks exactly like the retail one. We do have the Hamlet Macbeth as the search instructions, but we'll need to change again the background, the images, a few things like that. Okay, let's dive into some categories. We do have the proper categories. Doesn't look really nice for a Shakespeare theme, and we do have the subcategories here. So all the content here is good. These are the plays written alone by Shakespeare. If I click on one, I get all my content. I have my media gallery, so all that works as expected. So in just uploading these few CSV files, we do have a working sample with the same structure as the retail one, enabling us to browse through these collections of plays from Shakespeare. Now let's see what else I got from our design team. Again, let's look maybe at the final design first. So this is what the attract should look like and what the home should look like. So I'm going to put this on the side. Actually, I will put it on my second screen for my reference, so I know a bit where I'm trying to go. And then we're going to have a look here into our images, fonts, and colors. So this is the new media files I need to use here. I'm just going to copy this folder. And in Composer, I can go into the content library, look at all the content here. Let me make this bigger. And the images were named more or less in a user-friendly way. So it's easy for you to know which image is which and what to replace it with. For example, in the attract screen, we use this screensaver background. How do I know it? Because if I look at attract, in the properties, screensaver-bg. So you could go through all of them one by one, or just look into the content library, into the images. And when you have this screensaver, okay, I want to replace this. So I right click, replace with. I will go to my folder, which is this one, and I have a screensaver background, the new one for Shakespeare with the books on the left and the hand on the right, I guess. So let's click that. And this is going to replace the background used in this scene. Same thing for the other regular background, for all the options, the browsing, the products, etc. On the attract, we also have this logo, which seems to be the screensaver icon. I will replace that as well with stamp. And our home scenes should be good, maybe besides the text. I will talk about the text in just a second. In the home page, here we have our categories. If I look again at the final design, we want something a little bit different. Like the text is outside of the box. We have the books on the left. We have the button here in the middle. So not exactly what we have here, but we're going to adjust this. So first of all, we have our image. I want to replace this with the books. And then this is where you can start making changes in the templates themselves. Actually, let me just change all my images so I know I'm done. I need to change the home. That's the release button. I want to change the pressed as well. and the back button is replaced with the yellow arrows like this. All right, you get the idea. I'm not going to do the flags. I will do this logo because this should be Shakespeare logo. And the rest will be okay. All right, so now that we have changed our images, it's time to adjust the design to what we want, what our designer wants. In this case here, we have the home page. I'm going to unlock the layer and see what we have. So if I select this group, that's the image. We want this to be on the left. We want this button to be here. And I believe we don't want this rectangle, and we want this one here to be smaller, more or less. So this will be closer to this. Now, a big thing which will be different here will be the texts, the colors, the fonts. So what we did in the reference design, we do have a design style sheet, super simple, as an experience layer. We can see this text here at the top and this button here, which will be how all the buttons will look like in the experience. So I do have a cheap style sheet guideline here. So I know my font needs to be Silverstone, and I have the yellowish font which I want to use. So I'm going to change this text here into this color and into Silverstone font. Now we can see all the text have been updated. All the colors have been updated for all the titles. That's good. The button, I want to change the green button. The font should be, I think it's Sanchez. Oops. Reference text Sanchez, and the text should be black grayish, something like that. Actually, it might be Silverstone. Yes, it is Silverstone. All right, so then you have details. So for example, I know that this one should be a bit bigger, should be adjusted, something like this. If I go on the right side, same thing here. So I'm going to do this one quickly as well to illustrate. We want this rectangle to be smaller, this text input to be here, button to have also a 50 font size, and I believe we have a search icon that goes in here. We want these two things to be aligned. There we go. So that was for the homepage layer. You can then lock it down again, hide it, and actually you can hide this sync layer if you want to see better what's below. And now we can adjust the rest, the other layers. I'm just going to do the categories layer to finish illustrating that, and then hopefully you get the idea about how you can adjust this design depending on what you want your experience to look like. So unlocking all these objects, and we want here this list of categories to look something like this. So no rectangles, and the text should go in the book in here. So we don't want these two rectangles. We want this text to be on top of the book and probably centered here. And I believe we said, yeah, in the black grayish color. So these ones are not using the title. I could use a binding. I know I have the color here, so I'm just going to put the color. There we go. And I will just check the adapt font size because some titles might be too big. And then we're going to resize all that so it is nice and tidy. All right, we could spend some time into the details. We want to remove these 2 lines. We want to, I believe, add some dotted lines in here. And then this text, let me ungroup this. Should go on 2 lines. I believe something like this. So let me revert back to the homepage being visible, the sync layer being visible, going into the attract and hit play and see now what this new experience looks like. We have changed the data first, now we change the design, the backgrounds, the fonts, the colors, the buttons. Let's see how far we are from the actual exhibit sample we have in the marketplace. That definitely looks more Shakespeare exhibit than retail. We can start to play. We still have our animations. We still have our browse. We can browse our categories. These fonts probably should be a bit bigger. If I click on one, I get my items. This should be a little bit different. Again, if we look into the final design that we expect, that's what it should look like. Make the rectangle white, put it bigger behind the image. It will be done. The back button should be at the bottom, bigger. Again, all depending on the design you want to get to, but this is easily customizable. And already functional. I mean, I didn't have to do any trigger action to say which text I want to see here. If I'm going back to the home scene and search here for Hamlet, I get Hamlet. I didn't have to worry about, well, how do I do a filter? What is the structure of the CMS base that I need to create? All of this is done for you. And bonus, all the analytics are already done for you as well. So the data tracking is enabled by default. It will log the sessions from the attract string to the main scene. It will log which categories are selected, which keywords are entered, which language is used the most, etc., etc. So you can build your own dashboard very, very quickly. And also you can add as many events or as many data points that you want depending on your needs. I think that should be it for today's webinar. If you have any questions about this reference design, please do not hesitate to contact our support team, support@interface.com. If you want to let us know if you used it, what the end result looks like for you, feel free to post on our community. We have a show and tell category which is done just for that. Show us your design, show us your ideas, and let us know if this is helpful for you. Have a great day.